Hello, hello, happy beaders. Happy Saturday. Happy beading. How are you doing? Oh, I'm going to keep pulling this, I think. Oh, by accident, of course. How is your Saturday? Are you enjoying just the wonderful day? Are you popping in and out of the Great Bead Extravaganza that's going on today? And there's some wonderful things I've seen. I've popped on a few times, which got me a little almost late on here. Well, kind of late, but I was late also because I was having technical difficulties. But hello, welcome. Hi, Deborah. Welcome, welcome. Yay! I am so glad to have you on here. I know because we took that little short break, it's hard to get back into the routine of things. Plus, you know, this time of year we have a tendency to get have a lot more projects going on too, huh? Oh, you know what I did? I goofed and left. I don't know. Let's hold on a second. Let me see if. That's not what I was trying to do. Hi, Barbara. Hello, welcome. All right, I just realized I forgot to go grab my printed instructions that I wanted to show you. So I'm going to go grab those off of the printer real quick, and I will, let's see, enjoy the beautiful egg. All right, let's see if we can. Oh, well, you can see that egg. No, you can't because it's blurry. There it is. I will be right back. Okay, that's too close to me, so let's zoom back out. Thank you for waiting on that. So sorry. There's always like one thing. I go, oh, I got everything. I think I got everything. And I don't. Let's see if I can do this without knocking in everything. So if you didn't catch, we did have we're going to just work on simple loops today, simple wire loops. It's one of my favorite things to do to connect. It's very, for me, because it's one of the first things that I decided to master in wiring ages ago, over 20 years ago. And I love, you know, I really love the look of it. My dad did some jewelry back in the days of him courting my mom in college, so I loved that, the way it looked. And so when I got my hands on some pliers and some tools, I was like, this is for me. But it took me a while to practice, and I do mine a little bit different. There wasn't very much available at the time to learn them, and so I like to share. Thank you. I have to still post these. I got them, finally I made them. I actually got distracted. I was working on more of my eggs. I have the one up there that I made from last week. I started one for the yellow one that I'm going to show you with some different kind of you know, different size bugles and things like that, and I was working on that, and then I got distracted. I had to make these. I was inspired by not only like TierraCast, and I was inspired by their piece. They did a slightly shorter fringe earring, and then Daniel Marie Wicks made a super long one, and I did something in between. This is what I dub my subtle cacti, because there is a little cactus that I put in each one of these, and because my colors are not quite southwestern and definitely more blendy colors, it's a subtle thing, but they still look so cool, so I love them. And so I'll pull those off and show you closer. I used basically I used the skills that we did for our dangly fringe earrings and pendant that we did earlier. There's 2 videos for that. But if you if you have not found those videos yet, make a comment in the link, and then after the live, I will shoot through the link. I'll add the link to those so that you can see them. But for simple loops today, I did post. I have my basic wire simple loop instructions that are available on the PDF. I also have two projects sheets that we did over the years. We did the Starburst earrings and pendant necklace, and it uses simple loops. And we also did the Spirit of Fall earrings with charms. And I'm kind of using all these three things together with the beads that I picked out today. These are available as the PDF form in our Just Bead It Happy Beaders group. So if you are part of them or want to be part of them, here is the, nope, not that way. I still hit the wrong thing on here. Someday I'm going to do it so smoothly, or not, because I'm more creative than wanting to be tech. So maybe I don't care. Maybe it's okay. Here is our Facebook group. Oh, nope, that's not it. Let's, I did that wrong, so let me go back and see if I can get this done. So eventually I'm going to do this right. And I have it. I know I have it. It's right here. That's the link, and there it goes. So join there, and and you can find the PDF under the files. But on our event page and in our group and on our Facebook page, our Just Bead It Just Bead It Facebook page, the business page, it is there in the JPEG, so the photo version of it, which is a great way to keep in your device in like a photo album, and a great way to reference it and find it easy. Thank you so much. Oh, it's so good to see so many people on here. Thank you. So with that being said, the other things that you may want is a pair of round nose pliers, a chain nose pliers, or maybe 2 if you're going to use some jump rings, a pair of wire cutters. I'm going to just use my generic ones, but I also have my tronic ones so that we can kind of give like a comparison shot there. I'm going to be using 20 gauge wire. I have both silver plated in the Soft Flex craft wire and the antique copper in the Soft Flex craft wire in 20 gauge. I like 20 gauge because it is stiff enough to hold up those loops, and but thin enough to manipulate, and it goes through most beads. On occasion I might need something a little thinner because there are some beads that have smaller holes, and I usually like to do a wrap loop with those. And then I'm going to also have some 3mm round beads to go with my decorative beads and a whole bunch of beads. So I'm going to flip over the camera. I'm going to try not to, this one's hopefully will be a shorter one, because I know many of us are probably wanting to get back over to the wonderful world of the great bead extravaganza, and I don't want you to have to miss out. Of course, I have a hard time doing the whole marathon of the weekend, so sometimes I like to take breaks and then rewatch, and some people might be watching this as a replay, and if you are, hello, thank you for watching. But we're gonna get on over and start putting together something with simple loops. Yeah, let's flip the camera and take a look. Well, let's see if I can get the camera to face the way I want it to. I think that will be a good spot. We'll get a little bit closer. I'm going to move over some stuff real quick because I want to show some of the things that I don't have. The original stuff that I showed, I don't have those. So with that being said, I am going to show other things. I do have a pair of my earrings, which I could have been wearing today because they look great with this. Of course, I wanted to wear my dangly, my cacti ones. And these have a simple loop at the top, so it's a great way to make earrings. I also did them in my Spirit of Fall earrings. That's why we have it. And I think I'm going to make a version of these in my, with the types of charms I'm going to use later, not today, but I am going to use these later, because it is a simple loop right here that is connecting that charm to that piece of chain, and then the rest of it is just jump rings and stuff. But that is what's being used right on this part right here. Now on these, I used a head pin and an eye pin. A head pin is the one that has the flat on the bottom. Sometimes there'll be a ball pin, and so it's a little round ball at the bottom. And this one was done with a head pin, an eye pin. So one of the loops was already made at the top, and I just made the one at the bottom. Now you could do it the other way around. You can have the one that's pre-made on the bottom. But one thing I like to do is make mine a little bit bigger than the way they're made, and then that way whatever I'm dangling it on has a little bit more movement. And so I put the charm on the larger one, and because of the chain has so much movement, it was okay to go into the chain and still have a great movement on that. Here is a bracelet that I made with these little clear flower beads, which I thought looked like little snowflakes in a way because they are clear. So I made it during the winter and did all simple loop links for that bracelet. And in this one, this was when I did my little bead challenge with my sister last year, and I did simple loops for this middle part with these bigger beads to give it kind of like a good awesome drape, and also spread them out a little bit. And then the rest of it was crimped on soft flex. So it's really fun to mix the different types of beading too. So those are fun little things that you could do with this technique. I'm hoping we can, if anyone is having problems with their loops, that this might solve it. I do mine a little bit different, so you may find it won't go with how you were taught before, and maybe it will help, or maybe it'll make it more confusing. I don't know. But hopefully that'll be fun. Hello, Bonnie from Atlanta. It's good to see you on here. Yes, those Halloween charms on. I love that bracelet of yours, and the 2-in-1 jump ring bracelet is such a great way to hang charms and stuff on. Absolutely. Oh, that reminds me, the one I'm wearing here, I have these lovely butterfly and flower charms that I got from a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine. And I wanted to put little dangly flowers in between them with the glass beads. And so those are done on a ball pin with a simple loop. So it's a great way to add little extra dangles to your bracelets, your little charm bracelets. So this one I cheated and used a piece of chain, but you could definitely make your own with jump rings. So today I am going to use some TierraCast pieces. I have some sea life, a mermaid, a sea star, a seahorse, a sea turtle, everything C, and a seashell. How many C's can I say? Oh, absolutely. Those metal jump rings that we used in the 2-in-1, which I know you got the black ones, are from TierraCast. So they're plating it so fantastic. And then I have these 2 rings. I haven't decided which one I'm going to use. These decorative rings, because I think I'm going to like hang. I might use the larger one. It depends on how many charms I use. I just pulled them all out just so I can take a look at them. I might dang a few on here with some beads, or I might use the larger one. I'm actually aiming more for a bracelet than a necklace, but who knows, maybe I'll turn this into a necklace, or maybe I'll make two. I also have this fabulous TierraCast magnet clasp that I'm going to use, that I think is great. They go right into, is that together. We have 2 sizes that will be debuting on our Etsy very soon. And then I have my bright silver, but I also have this kind of antiqued silver because the charms kind of are antiqued, so I'm kind of going along with that. I might use both, or I might just use one. I haven't decided yet. The beads that I'm using were from our collection that we sold earlier this year, the Mindful Bead collection, and I am just going to try to use up some of these beads. I'm going to pour them out. In fact, I want to use some of these, but oh no, I have the other kits, never mind. I have an idea for these next week. I'm thinking about doing the daisy stitch, and instead of just through with C beads, I'm going to add some decorative beads in the center, and I might use those. I'm going to also pull out these little ones because I think those are going to be nice little decorative pieces. I am going to put out this drop, and I might take these drops. I don't know if they're going to work as well, but I might want to use those, so I'm going to add a few of those. I'm going to cut this and add a few of those. Try to move some. Now these drops are going in the other direction. Now these beads, I already made that fun. Nope, I don't know where it is. We did our their wire crochet with those earlier this year, and I'm using up some of what's left over. I'm going to try to get some of these saucer beads in. I think they all kind of look sea life enough. This little collection should go with my little sea life charms. The flowers, even though they're flowers, they could kind of look like little coral flowers, you know, some sea flowers. Kind of some ocean blue or sky blue, where the sky meets the ocean. I guess it depends on what part of the world, your color of your ocean. Sometimes your ocean is really gray, and sometimes your ocean is a little more green, and oh, I already poured these ones out. Sometimes your ocean's a little more blue. It really kind of depends, huh? Where you are at. And some of those. I don't think I have any more of these, the full collection, but I did run across some parts. And because this is our anniversary month, we are going to have a sale, and I'm going to put those up, those little extra. Okay, sorry, I just had a little bit of a weird buffering thing on my side. So hopefully everything is now clearer, and because I changed the setting on there. So some of these, there's like a few beads that are not, that we only had a limited amount when we did our original collection. I also have some more collections going up. So next week, yeah, next weekend, I will probably have a bunch of that up on our Etsy, and they'll be on sale because we only have a few left. So you can always message us if there's something particular, and if we have it, I can see if we can pull one aside for you. So those are the beads I'm going to be using. A mixture of that and these little charms. Awesome. Okay, so let's get our So even though I made these little piles, I am actually going to be very, very chaotic and creative and artsy and pull them all together in one little thing, because I want a nice clear spot to be able to work on our loops. Now, one thing that I do slightly different is I cut off, well, there's a lot of people that do this, so it's not like that different. When I first started, it was really different. So I'm, just a reminder, I'm using 20 gauge, non-tarnished, silver plated craft wire from Softflex. The key is 20 gauge. Anything thinner, the loops will open up a lot easier if they get tugged, and I get things caught all the time, so that's why I like to use it. Now that means that sometimes I can't use a bead on it, so if I do have to use a thinner gauge, I like to have the same metal and a thinner gauge on hand, and then I might do one of the links in a wrap loop so I can use it. But today we're just going to use what is available that will fit on this. And if you still are having problems following, if you're having a bad buffering day, this video will be available to watch later in the replay. And you're welcome to ask questions during a replay. I do take a look at and refresh and see if there's new comments, in case somebody had a question. So it might take me a little bit to get back to you, but I will get back to you. I like to pull off a little bit of the wire and work off of a longer piece, usually about 1 foot to 1.5 foot. And what I do is, instead of unraveling, I roll it off. When I roll it off, it allows me to keep a smoother wire most of the time. And we're going to cut off a piece to work off of, and I'll cut more as we need more. You can use a pair of nylon tip pliers. I forgot to mention those. I don't have those today, but if you have those, you'd put your pliers and hold on one side and use your nylon tip pliers to smooth it out. I have a tendency to just do this with my hands because, again, since I learned a long time ago, and a lot of it was trial and error, I just started doing it with my hands because I didn't have nylon tip pliers. I didn't even know they existed at the time. So when we do our first cut, we want to make sure that nice end, or before we start the loop, we want to make sure the nice end on one side has a good flat cut. And the way most kind of flush cutting cutters do is that this side is going to be a flatter cut than if you cut with this side, and this will give you a pointed cut. And what I mean by that, and I'll show this under the thing, if I cut a little piece off and get you a little close, do you see that little bit of a point, that little bit of a flash, because it is a pointed cut? You see that? Now if I have this so that it is, the flat side's cut towards what I want to keep, when I go to cut, now I would like to cover this. I either put my finger on this side so it doesn't fling, because those little bits like to fly everywhere, or I cut towards the mat, or you just put your hand over it. So you're going to see me put my hand over it a lot of the time, and that's just so that those little ends don't fling up and get somewhere and get, we don't need a metal sliver, right? Now if you look at this, there we go, see how there is a flatter cut now. There's no point on there. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's way better than it was. And that's what you want to start out with, or at least that's what I want to start out with. Now we're going to get our round nose pliers. You can use step nose pliers. Those are the ones that have multiple steps, that it has one size and like a small size, a medium size, and a large size. Usually there's 3 sides. Sometimes you'll have 3 on this side and 3 on this side, so you have 6. And you can use those too, but I use my round nose pliers. Now I'm going to make sure nothing is above. I grabbed hold with my pliers and I'm holding it pretty gently right now. I'm not going to have anything above, and all my wires going below. And I'm kind of holding it parallel, you know, or horizontal, so it goes with the camera so that you can see it. But a lot of times I'd be holding it like this, and seeing it from this position. So I'm just going to try to keep it in this position for you because it does follow along the photos later, so it'll be a little easier to follow. I like to put my hand underneath the pliers versus down below. If I hold down here, you don't have as much like, what is the word? Control. It's not really control either, but you know, I want a little more leverage, a little more control. So if I bring my hand up and hold right under the pliers, I will have a little bit more control of the wire when I make the first step. And the first step is not with, for me, is not with the wire, but with the pliers. I just twist my pliers just slightly. I don't want to twist too far because it will hurt my arm or my wrist. But I just want a little, like, kind of start. Then I take my wire and I bring it away from me and behind the pliers, and then I bring it straight up so it kind of doesn't go over this tine of the pliers, but it kind of hits it, and so you get this like almost loop. Hello Lisa, welcome. I don't know why this is moving so much today, so sorry about that. I hope I'm not getting anyone seasick with that. So when I pull it off, it's going to not quite look like a loop. Sometimes it gets a little crooked and it's not closed. So I'm going to hold my pliers like it's a little mouth. It's like a little chomp chomp mouth. And the bottom tine of the pliers is going to go inside that loop. Now my loop is facing away from me now, so I'm going to grab hold of the loop. I brought the loop all the way down onto my pliers. Hold on to the loop and twist away, and that will close up that loop so much better. So now I got this really beautiful loop, but the loop is holding side, like it would hang sideways, and it won't hang as pretty. So we want to make this look like a lollipop, so we're gonna like kink that little neck. That little tips of the pliers right there are gonna, one tip is gonna go inside, one goes on the outside. I like to hold it towards me so that I can see downwards, but I don't know if the camera is really showing that very well because of trying to focus, but let's see if it does. And then I'm going to twist in the opposite. So sometimes I twist with my pliers, sometimes this part I do with my wire, or it's a combination of both. And now you can see that loop is standing up, and that's going to dangle better. And if I'm going too fast for you, don't worry, I will be doing this again, and I'll do this several times, and then afterwards it will be available to rewatch at any time that you want to watch it, and you'll be able to fast forward, rewind, pause whenever you need to. I'm going to pull out some of my, okay, I pulled out the bright silver, but now I want to do the darker one, so I'm going to pull those out. These are 3mm round balls. Now I really like to do these, especially in the beginning. These little hollow round balls act like really nice buffers between the pliers and the beads. When I do a link without them, like these ones here, I did not put them on there. And when I found that sometimes you run the risk of chipping the bead when you are making loops, and this little round ball acts like a nice buffer. So if you're new to it, this will be a really good thing to have on hand. It's 3mm round metal balls. I suggest the metal because I know some people that use seed beads, and seed beads look really cool and really good, but because they are glass, they tend, unless you get the metal sea beads. There are true metal sea beads out there. There's one company that makes them and they're fabulous, and those would work too. But unless you have those, you risk breaking those little seed beads. So I do think the metal is a little bit better for it to withstand with the pliers. I feel like I have lost of words today, so I'm very sorry that I'm keep pausing and trying to think of words. I don't know what it is, but it seems like the words are not coming. Okay, so I have found that these little ones that I pulled out are too small to go on my wire, so I will not be using those today. But other beads do fit. So we will get some beads on. Now, 20 gauge will fit in a lot of glass beads, particularly, like I'm using all Czech glass beads, but the ones from China usually have a large hole, and actually sometimes they have larger holes than what we have, or the Czech Republic the Czech beads have. I find that they tend to have larger holes. Some of the stuff that's been made a while back might not have as big holes, and I say a while back, but I mean like over 20-30 years ago, and I say that because their molds at that time sometimes had smaller holes. Stone, if it depends on where it's drilled. If it's drilled in China, you will find that they have a larger hole. If it's drilled in India, most of the time they have a smaller hole. And there's a few other places that they're drilled, but those are the most common places. And pearls are hard to do unless they're glass pearls or large hole pearls. So I just added my decorative beads. Added a metal bead, my decorative beads, and a metal bead. So that's going to be one of my links. This looks like it's... Oh, there's the light. It is cobalt blue in there, but it looks so dark on the camera for the most part. Now I'm going to take my round nose pliers, and I am going to hold just slightly above. Now in the camera, you can really see that little space there, but most of the time we can't see it. It's more of a feel. You want a little bit of a wiggle room, but not so much. Unless you have really good eyesight, most of the time I can't see it, the little space. The camera just makes it easier to see. You want that so that when you're bending the next step of bending the wire with the pliers, it will like kind of move without putting pressure on these beads. Thank you, Rosalinda. I'm glad you were able to pop in for a minute. I know there's so much going on this weekend, so I'm so glad to see you being able to pop on. I'm going to hold on to the bead, twist away with my pliers, up and over with my wire. And that started that kink. So on this side we did the loop and then we added the kink, and this side we have to start with the kink. So we added the kink and now we're started the loop. Now if I started real quick, like, you know, or if I started finishing my loop, I'll get a loopier loop than a nice finished loop. So at this point, when it's in front of the bead, I like to slide it off, reposition, and then take this wire and cross it, and now I have a tighter loop there. Hi Gail, welcome. Yes, I know, I'm like right in the smack middle. I'm trying to make a quicker video so that I'm not taking up too many times, but of course this is always available for watching in the replay later. And then we are going to cut on the inside of the loop. So I do it this way. I know this is one of the things that's a little different. A lot of people cut them first and then roll it into place. But when I do that, I tend to be either short or too big, and then I have to do a lot of adjusting. And this way, I don't have to do as much of adjusting. But it does look like I'm going to tell you to cut off your loop, because I'm going to tell you to go inside the loop. Now this is on the opposite side of the tail. So I like to hold the tail, bring the cutters up, and bring one tip, the farthest tip, inside the loop, and then you can just snip right there like that. Cuts off the tail, and voila, you have a perfect loop. Now it's sideways a little bit, it's not closed all the way. So this is where I take my chain nose pliers, I lay it into the loop, and I press down, and I got a great loop there. Now I like to have my loops in the same plane. They are opposite, and that does work. Some people like that. Sometimes they get really cockeyed, but I like to have them in the same plane. So I usually just, while I'm holding it here, I'll either use my pliers or my fingers, or I use a second pair of pliers and grab hold of the other loop, and I twist it until they're both in the same plane. And so I got an awesome link. Rosalinda, I don't know if you're on here or not, but you're one of the people that I wanted to show these to. When I said I got distracted by another project, this was the project that I got distracted. I decided I needed to make a cactus inside a fringe earring with the TierraCast Desert Scene link. So this is what got me distracted that other day when I didn't do my egg. Now I got to get back to my egg. So just thought, I was like, yeah, exactly. This is why I got distracted. But I did my little subtle cactus, and you know, you have to know that it's there, or sometimes you'll catch it in the light and know it's there, because I have a tendency to do colors that kind of blend more, because that's just more kind of my style. For my own personal stuff, I love blues and stuff. So anyway, I just had to show that, take a minute and show you that, because I knew you would understand why I got distracted. I really do, like, I love that piece from them, and I love the stuff, you know, that Southwestern style, but it's just not always, it's not my go-to, and it's not, and the colors, sometimes I don't mind, I do like them, but they're not what I normally gravitate to, so I always end up making them like my own. So this to me is my subtle cacti earrings with kind of like a night scene or something. Maybe that's why the colors are that way. Anyway, I'll probably post them later so you can get a better look, get a picture, and get a better look of it. But let's get back to these lovely little links, because I got to make a bunch more if I'm going to start adding little charms in here, right? Yeah. So yeah, this mix, you like my little mix there. This was the mix. This is leftovers from my wire crochet bracelet from the Mindful Beading Kit collection that I did earlier this year. That's what I'm using. All right, so I'm going to cut, get a nice flat edge to get started with. So I'm cutting very minimal amount off. Oh, this is where, if you have a Sharpie or any kind of permanent marker on hand, these look pretty good in size, but if you're not good at getting sizing, one thing that I like to do is slide that on. And then I don't have to think, because I can eyeball pretty good now because I've been doing it for a while, but sometimes it's nice not to have to think. And then I just mark my pliers at that, where that's sitting there, right? I like to take it off, and I like to mark it all the way around my pliers. And the reason is because then I don't have to worry about how I pick up my pliers. I could just pick up my pliers and use them. I don't have to hold them any certain way to make sure that I'm using that guideline correctly. So it's nice to have that. Now if you want to take it off, it does come off of the metal pretty easily. Usually even just the oils in your skin will do it, but if you can't do that, If that doesn't happen, rubbing alcohol still will, or nail polish remover will take it off. Thank you. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Oh yes, daughters will do that. That is so distracting for sure. We'll have a wonderful weekend and hope to see you next weekend. It's really nice, even when you can't stay for long, popping in and saying hi always brings me a smile to my face, and I really appreciate it. And if ever you want to rewatch these, or if you're watching the replay, say hi there too. It's great. All right, so I'm using my line as a guide. I have a messy line on that side, but that's okay. It's there. I'm making sure none of it sticks up. So sometimes people go grab it and then there's some that's sticking up. Maybe it's even just a hair sticking up. But if you can put your finger across it and feel it, it's too much. You're gonna get more of a teardrop shape. Hi, Sabrina, welcome. And then, so I'm making sure I'm holding the tip with having hardly any of it showing. Then my hand is going to be holding right underneath the pliers, and I'm just twisting the pliers slightly. I'm not even moving that much. If you can see, it's like a hair. It's not much, but it does help start moving the wire. Then I take the wire, instead of moving the pliers, I'm now moving my hand with the wire, and I'm moving it away, around the bottom tine, and straight up, and I go until it hits the pliers. Most of the time you're going to get very close to having a nice closed loop, but you do need to finish that loop. So I'm going to take this and slide it back on to the line, and this is where the line is really helpful. Grab hold, take the wire and twist, and then that just closes that up. Now we have a nice little loop, but again, we want that link to dangle nicer. Then it right now it'd be kind of cockeyed a little bit. We want it nice and straight. So we're going to use the very tips. This is the only time we're going to use the tips of the pliers and not the line. We're going to take the tips of the pliers and hold onto the wire, one tip inside the loop and one on the outside of the loop, and then just kink it a little bit so that it stands up. If you need to, you can always readjust that loop a little bit if it opens up a tiny bit. Sometimes that happens. It all depends on where your outside one is. If you hold it too high, or if it's too far in to it, that usually means that it'll open up quite a bit, and you have to really readjust it. I am going to now make another link. I'm going to start out with a metal bead because I like to use those as little buffers. I also like the look of it. I feel like it's a nice way to kind of really it's a good transition from metal to your glass bead or your stone bead or whatever you're using, whatever your decorative bead is. It's like kind of like this little bit of like a good flow from the loops to it, and it has to me a nice little look to it, a little finished look. I can make another one just like that if I wanted to, because I will probably need more, but I'm going to explore a different bead. I think I'm going to just no, I want the flower. I'm going to use this one. This one's going to be like a sea life flower for me in this piece. I keep dropping these. I should just put it, I know better, I could just pop it in there, but we talked about this last week. Some reason when I'm on camera, I have a tendency to pick up the beads to put them on, and when I'm off camera, I poke through the bead on the mat. I don't know what it is. It's something about the camera. All right. I'm going to use my line as a guide again. I'm going to bring it above that little metal bead a hair above. Like, I want movement because I don't want to put any strain on my beads, but I don't want too far where it's going to be too loose, and I don't. So it's like that weird little happy thing, just enough to kind of wiggles up and down, but not enough to see other than being on the camera, or if you have really good eyesight. My eyesight's not that great, so most of the time I don't see it. I just see, like, it looks like that to me, but I can feel that it moves, so I'm good. Because if you go right on top of it and it doesn't move up and down, like that does not move up and down, I know I'm too close. So I just need to loosen it up just a tad. Hold on to the bead, twist away slightly. I go only about 45 degrees. I don't do a 90 degree. I only go about 45 degree. I find that's really key for me. If I do 90, my loop tends to be a little to the side and I have to adjust it. So I just do a 45 degree angle there. I move the hand from the bead to the wire. And this time, instead of moving the pliers, I'm moving the wire, and I'm bringing the wire towards me and up. It's like up and over and towards me. So I'm not going in the same direction. My pliers went away from me, and it's more intuitive to want to go take that wire around to the back. But if you do that, you're going to have a sideways loop, right? So you want it to go, you want to go from the back around this top. We're forming it around the top tine of the pliers. But I like just bring it down to where it hits the bead. Now this is where sometimes a 90 is important, because if you put any pressure and move this, it might take that out. So you may have to readjust yours if you did that, but most of the time, as long as you're only moving the wire, you're good. Now I just took that out, because if I continued my loop, I'd have a more swoopy loop, and I want a nice little circle loop. So I'm going to make a little mouth, chomp chomp, onto the bottom tine of the pliers. I'm going to slide the loop onto there, and I'm going to grab hold where the line is, and then take the wire to the back. And there we go. We got a loop. Now, at some point, you may want to try to cut them this way, but you got to be very careful in doing this method, because if you want a flatter cut, you would need to have the cutters in this formation here, but it's really easy to overcut the wrong direction. So I still like to do it this way. And so I have the flat side away from my palm towards my beads. My other hand's holding the tail, and it's going in from the opposite side of the tail. It's more intuitive to want to cut over here, but if I cut over here, you have a long tail still. You don't get a good cut on it. So if I go on from this side, right inside that loop, when I cut it, it just cuts right inside and makes a nice little loop. And you press down and it closes it. Oop, that didn't go. Hello, hello, hello. There we go. Nope. It likes my beads more than what I'm doing. Boop, boop. Yeah, this is where you want to focus. Right there. And then I'm going to take this side and twist it so that the loops are in the same plane. And I got another link. Let's make a few more. I'm going to make a few more, and then I'll connect them, and then afterwards I'm going to go off camera and make some more and connect them into the piece. But I just wanted to get a few of these in. Go grab hold. So I cut off that top part. Make sure none of it is above. I'm using my line again. twisting away with the pliers and bringing the wire away. So yes, these are in the same direction because we're on the first side. Slide back onto the jaw, form it a little bit more. This time you don't use the line, but use the tips. Go inside the loop and tweak it upwards so that it is in a lollipop shape. And then we are going to, let's see. I want to see if these drops will look cool together. Maybe they'll look like oceany drops or something. Oh, I'm going to do, I think I'm going to just do a cluster of the small, and then I'll do a cluster of the large. Nope, that's not a drop. Let's see. Do I want just 3? I'm going to do 5 of the small. So I need 2 more. A little cluster of drops. That looks cute. It will give me some texture to the bracelet. And with a little round ball, and we're ready to make these ones. So I'm holding at the line, a little bit above the beads, hold on to the beads, twist away with the pliers, move the hand from the beads to the wire, bring the wire up, over, and down in front of the bead, so it's up and over, opposite direction of how I moved my pliers. Reposition, make a little chomp chomp, and let it slide onto the bottom jaw, right at that line. Grab hold of the wire, and just bring that wire to the back, to the side, and then to the back, so it makes that, finishes that loop. I'm going to cut with my Tronics. Now, if you get into wiring, a good pair of either Tronics, Lindstrom, Swanson, those cutters are amazing. Any of those brands are amazing. They usually have a good fine tip that is a little bit even smaller. They are made with a different kind of steel metal so that it holds up to the cutting, the hitting a little bit better. They're just fantastic, and a lot of times they are smaller, so you can get into even tighter places. So that's why I really like them. But I was showing with the more standard kind that you can find more often, and they work great too. You know, it's a great place to start off, but you'll find that they'll start to get dull, and then you're going to want another pair. And after a couple new pairs, you may decide that you want to get a better set. And I would suggest Tronics, Lindstrom, or Swan. Okay, I might not know how to say that one, to be honest. All right, those are in the same direction, and then you got like, I kind of like, I tend to favor the Tronics, partly just because, you know, it's really fun when you find out that things are made close to you, and Tronics is actually in my little area, so, you know, probably an hour away or whatever, or something like that, but it's still close to me, you know, and so it's like, oh, yay, but the other ones are great too. I got 2 links. Now, let's see. I am going to do a link with 3 of these, and then I'm going to do a link with one of those. Maybe, do I want those 2 together? No, I think one of those and one of those. And I'm going to make just those ones. I'm going to go a little bit faster maybe. Okay, on occasion when I close it, I accidentally lose my little kink in there, or when I mean twist it, and I see that this one's sideways, and what's nice is you can just go in there with your pliers and twist it upwards, and then close up your link, and you're good to go. I just saw that though. I was like, oh, I better fix that. I have a nice flat cut there, so I'm going to grab hold with my pliers at my line so that I can aim to have the same size loop. Hold onto the pliers, wire. Try to hold it closer up against those pliers. Twist away with the pliers. Now you can move your hand, slide your hand downwards, and bring the wire the rest of the way. Go away and up. Should hit the pliers but not go over. Like, you don't want to go over this top tine. You want it just to kind of hit it. Now I'm going to slide it back onto that bottom jaw and grab it with the line and twist until it's closed. Grab hold with the ends inside, twist in the opposite direction. You really should, Christine. Yes, I saw that you were wearing it, and I think it's just lovely. If you've done this with me before, you should take a pic. Well, I'm sure you've done it in the past, but you should take another picture of a project you've done. Or if you're doing it new now, or if you are redoing this again because it's fun, or you just want that practice, these little link chains are a great way to practice, because when you are looking at them, one link just like that, you may look at it and think and see the imperfections, but when it's all into a chain of beads, you will not see the imperfections. You will see the beautiful beads and how awesome they look in a chain. And I think it's a great way to really practice if you're not used to doing simple loops. Let's see, I'm going to do my large drops. Oh, you know what? Maybe I don't do 3 of these. Maybe this is where I do... No. I'm doing 3. I'm doing 3. I'm doing 3 because that's what I want to do. That's what I wanted to do in the beginning. That's what I'm going to do now. Now, I can, if I wanted them to lay down like this, I should put a little ball in between, and then they'll lay that way, and that would be kind of cool. But, or you have them kind of offset, which is fine. But in the 3, to me, it's like I like it with the 5 better, but I don't want to make that big of a one with these larger ones. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe see if I like it with a ball in between. And that looks pretty cool. I think that's going to be fun. So I'm going to do it with the ball in between on these. Any questions on these loops? Seems like, I'm hoping that means I'm showing it fairly well, that there's not something that that I'm missing. So I hope that's true, but please, if there's a question, go ahead and pop a little question in there and let's see if I can solve it. So I'm a little bit above, holding on to my beads, twist away with my pliers, move my hands from the beads to the wire, up and over, reposition, cross underneath with the wire. I do have a more in-depth one that I did in the beginning, gosh, when there's that April of 2020, 2 years ago. So if you need to, you can always pop over there and see that. I think that's when it was. And there's that link. Okay, so I'm going to show you another little link. You can continue, of course, with beads. But one of the things I like to do, is I like to, for little extensions that I don't need that much, maybe I only need like a little less than a 1/4 inch extension, or maybe I need a whole 1/2 inch, but I want it even on both sides or something. One little link I like to do is just to put one metal bead on. I've done this to extend it for a clasp. I've also done this as a decorative part in the chain. I've done it to attach other the charms when I didn't want to put I didn't have jump rings. Like right now, I don't have my jump rings out. And normally you just go and you grab a jump ring, maybe like if you want the one that goes really close, you may want to have a jump ring. But if you don't have a jump ring, this actually works out pretty good without making it super long. One other nice thing about this, so we talked about me, like, and all of these, I've moved all my links in the same plane, and when I hook these all up, they're going to go opposite and it's going to be fine, and that's great. But sometimes when you have something like this, right, well, this one is, no, this is not this is not the thing. Okay, if I was it's the earring, really. Okay, let me take this. Okay. So if I wanted to just use one link for this turtle, and I wanted the turtle to go in this direction, and if my loop is in that same direction, like normally you would just go, okay, don't mind that this is gold. I took it off of the other one. You know, normally you would just go like that, right? And it would go right in there. But if you wanted to extend it down and you wanted to hook this turtle to a link, you need these loops to be in opposite directions. So I would just take, and as long as you're not squeezing tightly and you're not twisting these like all full around, usually you can just twist them, get them back into that direction. So now when I hook this up, it will be in the correct direction, and the turtle will lay in the right way. Now, of course, I could do this with a fancy bead, but I could also do it with this little metal one. So I'm going to show that. Sabrina, which is easier to use for wire? Okay, I am using the 20 gauge. Oh, this is the antique silver, or antique copper. I'm using the silver, but I am using the 20 gauge. I find 20 gauge thin enough to be malleable, but thick enough to be strong enough to keep those loops from opening. Sometimes when you have to really pull apart on this to like you have to really yank it to pull them apart. Normal wear and tear, like just this kind of like normal stuff, like it's flowing on a necklace, it's thrown into your purse, it's thrown into your jewelry box, it's caught on something and you put, you know, normal stuff, the the 22, which is thinner, so in wire, the smaller the number, the thicker it is. So the 20 is thinner than the 20 is thicker than the 22. So a 22, a lot of times when you just have like that normal wear, they will open up. That's why sometimes in department store kind of jewelry that has the simple loops, a lot of times they're using a thinner gauge wire because it looks better and it's cheaper, so they use it. But the normal day use of it, getting caught in, you know, putting it in your purse or getting caught in your jewelry box, or just wearing it, sometimes opens up those loops. So that's why I suggest 20 gauge. Hope that answered. Thank you, Barb. Thank you. All right, so to connect this to my charm, or even if I wanted to, when I go to connect these, I like the method, it's like jump rings. You never open a jump ring outwards. You always do them sideways, right? So we are going to do this sideways. You want to find the opening side. So this is the side right here that's open. And then this is the connected side. Take your chain nose pliers, those are the flat ones, and remember, you're going to grab hold that top half like that. See it? And what that's going to do is you're going to, by grabbing hold of so much of that curve, instead of like just a little bit like this, you won't get a lot of grip to it. If you do this, you'll get a better grip. Plus, what it does is it causes a pivot spot right here. And all it takes is me to take my finger and push away, and see how it pushes open. Now I over push that. That should not go that far. You want to go less than that. And on the next one, I'm going to do less than that. But this way, when I go to put my piece on, I can grab hold of that, and then I can bring my finger back and bring it and push it back to it. Now, if it's not closed all the way, you can just take and wiggle back and forth while you push inwards, and you'll feel that tip hit, and you know it's closed. So there we go. We have that one now going in this direction. So this is how I would be able to put this onto my earring. And have it face in the correct direction, is because I have those loops in those opposite direction. And so that would be one way to do it. If you wanted to add like a little bead in between, and you didn't want to add a chain, or you don't want to add a jump ring, you just want to add the bead link in between your earring and your piece. Now, I'm going to hook these together. Let's see, I am going to, yeah, I think I'll do it that way. I might change this later, but we're going to hook these up. So I'm going to show that again. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad I was able to help answer that. I've done this with the 18 gauge wire too. You can do this with a lot of the thick gauge wire, and they will hold up nicely. Again, I'm only grabbing that top half, and I'm only pushing forward, or I'm pushing away or forward. And if I need to, I wiggle back and forth until it hits. And I did not ruin my loop. Because a lot of times what we think we should do is go and grab it and pull it apart, and then you can't get that loop back together, right? So I'm going to take that top half, push away so it's open to the side like that. Grab hold. And close it. Okay. And then I'm going to do... So I haven't totally thought out my design. I'm not sure if I'm 100% happy with the placement of these links. A lot of times I either lay out my design, I will lay them out and figure it out first, or when I'm going to be very artsy and creative, I have my pile and I make, you know, like 20 links, and then I play with them. I'll make I'll make doubles and stuff, or fours of something that I really like, and then I start playing with the placement. So I go back and forth, because any leftovers, I have put things together with like leftover ones that are mix matched, and they look so amazing. So I don't care, you know, if I have extras. It's just soothing. I could do, once you get comfortable with links, you could do this, you know, in a nice watching another live, or watching TV, or chatting on the phone with your friends, you know. So I have that. Now I have these guys, and this is kind of the same way. I'm going to probably hook this, like I use that and I can hook those there. You know what? I sometimes do that too, and it's not that big of a deal. If that happens, okay, so that one, if that happens, like I just mess those up so that they're not in the same way. All you have to do is grab hold of your pliers with their pliers. Now this is, make sure you're not catching the other link. Let it just kind of hang out, and let this one just hang out. Go grab another pair of pliers, grab a hold, like that, and then you got it. Easy fix. You do it with your hands too, but I find the pliers makes it a little more precise. All right, so I was thinking I might hook this here onto here, and then dangle and have this kind of like in the middle of my bracelet, and then have some of the charms going off of that, and then having some of the charms going, or even bead links going down in here. So I am gonna do that now. One thing that I need to do though is probably not use this link for that, so I'm gonna make one more link to go in between this, and what I'm going to do is make one side a little bit larger so it will accommodate this ring. Yes, you know, most of the time the wire is very forgivable. If you overwork it, it might not be. So when you are holding things, you got to really in the beginning, when we're doing this, we have a tendency to like really death grip things, and you push and you kind of twist more, and it's like really hard movements. And if you can start loosening your grip a little bit, it will help keep you from death gripping it where it work hardens too much or cause little weak spots. Or if you undo too many times, that will happen. But most of the time, it actually really is very forgiving. And a lot of these kind of craft wires have a copper core, which is part of the reason why it is forgiving. And then whatever they do for the plating, like this is a silver plate over it, and then they put a non-tarnish agent on top of that so it doesn't turn quickly. I have stuff that I have with this that turns a little bit, but is pretty easy to clean up, that I've had for years, and they look really good still. They don't turn black, you know, and like sometimes sterling is, and partly is because they put that non-tarnish agent on it. So I am going to make one link to go in between this one and this one. Now I'm going to decide, do I want to make it this one? No, because of the blue. I think then it'll be too much blue. I think I'm going to do it this one right here. And I think I'll make it so that it's a teardrop shape, so I'm thinking about the big side is going to be on that side, and I think that's what I'm going to do. It'll be kind of cool. No, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make the first side
you know, I'm just gonna, what am I doing? Okay, we're just gonna make the loop in a weird way because I forgot what I was doing. I'm gonna make my normal size loop on the line is what I was trying to say. Sometimes when I do this, I get so excited about my all my links that a project that I thought is a bracelet turns into a necklace, and I'm starting to wonder if this is what this is going to do. But we will see. Who knows? This might just be a bracelet after all. And then a necklace later. Then I'll have to have earrings, right? All right, so now on this side, because, and I made sure I have the point side down because this is the side that's going to connect here. I want the fatter side over here. So I'm going to pop over here, and instead of my line, I want it larger, so I'm going to move it down my pliers so I can make a chubbier loop. Hold on and twist away with my pliers, up and over with my wire, reposition, close it, and now I got this nice large loop. And this is why the 20 is nice, because this 20 will hold up this size loop a lot better than, and you know, with that 22, if we did a 22. And now we have that I'm gonna get my loops in place. Now I'm gonna hook this large one into my link, and then I'm going to make this on the small one, I'm going to hook to here. I may even do multiple strands off of both sides instead. Oop, I'm like one too big, so I'm gonna have to take this one off, and maybe I do different things on that other side, or make a long or multiple, I don't know. But we are gonna want to hang some stuff off of this. So I'm gonna take, that's what I'm probably gonna do, is do a combination of ones with just the silver, and then maybe ones with like this one or this one, and hang different charms from that center piece. Let's see, I think I might want, you know, and I got like I got all these fun things to hang off. I don't know if I want all of them off of there. I might. Or I can also, one thing that I do, you can do those lovely knotted ends or head pins that Sarah Lovecraft does, is a great one. Sometimes what I do is just a very simple, and this only works if your holes are not too big. And I just take the very end, and I'm using my chain nose pliers. I bend it tightly so it makes like a little hook, and then I squeeze that hook together so it has just this little tiny bend. I didn't use this one yet. And I would then put my bead on. Kind of looks like a sea snail on here. Call them cinnabuns, but they also look kind of snaily, huh? Cut in between. Now I got a little fun bead charm to stick in there too. So I'm gonna finish this off camera, post some pictures when it is done so you can see what I do. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for all of the, you know, cheering me on and the questions. Just to let you know, I am experimenting with size 6mm instead. For I have this retro colored egg cut one going. So I have 6mm instead of the 9mm that we used last week for it, and I adapted it. I just end up having to put 5 on this side instead of the 1, and it worked. I'm also gonna adapt the 12mm, so stay tuned, and I'll put that info up in a post. Next week we're gonna probably play with some daisy chain and have some anniversary sale announcements. So I hope you stay tuned for that. Thank you, Barb. And I will post a little bit more about my earrings that I made, because we did get some of these to put up on there. Oh, that's great, Sharon. So glad. Thank you, Deborah. I am so glad. And again, if you need to rewatch this to get, more information, but this simple technique, and it says simple, but as you might know, because you've tried it before, it can get very frustrating, because sometimes some of the things to get the loops to look right don't feel they're not intuitive, so it doesn't feel right, so we have a problem with it. But don't worry, just breathe, start again. It's just wire, cut it and start again. One time before I was comfortable as this, right now my scrap pile is this so far for my loops is just these little tiny pieces. This one I might even, for me, I can even make that into one of these little links, and that'll be fun, which I might do. But, it's not that much. But at one time, it was a big pile. It was a crazy pile, because I didn't like the way the loop was, so I stopped. I cut it, started again. But what I have found in teaching people in the last 19 years is individually, as one loop on a dangle or in one link, you can look at it and see all the imperfections. But when they are in a beaded link, like chained up like that, all of a sudden you are just seeing pretty beads all in a chain, and it looks so cool, and you won't see it as much. You gotta just kind of step back. Simple loops to me are like a Monet painting. You need to step back and not look at the tiny details. You need to step back to see the big picture and see how it is so beautiful. Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad. I am so glad you are enjoying the our Easter, all of it, really, it's just so fun. Anyway, let's see if I can flip this without like losing everybody. There we go. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. It really makes my Saturday. It makes my whole week, especially lately, unfortunately. A lot of things, the world brings you all different things, and it's really nice to be able to bead with you. Happy beading all. See you next week. Share on our Facebook page or in our Happy Beaders group what you are making with this technique. And if you are not using the simple loops, that's okay. If you're working on something else, share with us. We love seeing what you make. It makes our day. I know it makes everyone else's day. It's nice to have friendly people, bead people that understand our love of beads in our life. So thank you so much. Have a fantastic Saturday. Enjoy. Bye.